He was only on an IEP for speech. The one day, it was in September, October, I believe, there was a teacher conference and there was over 40 substitute teachers at the school, most of them in his building, and in fact he had a substitute that day as well. All the principals were gone and the crisis prevention team, as far as I was told, was also gone. He had approached the substitute teacher to tell her that it was too loud and it was hurting his ears because he has sensory issues. It didn't get quiet, so he did the one thing that he knew. He ran to get away from the pain, from the noise. They didn't know what to do since everybody was gone, so they called campus police, who came and restrained him. They called me to come pick him up. When I got there, I couldn't calm him down. He was still trying to run. He was still being restrained by the police. They had to transport him for me because he kept trying to jump out of the van. And I guess they didn't have a second person there to help contain him, and they thought he would be safer if he couldn't try to get out of the windows, so they restrained him. Handcuffs were too big because he's only 7, so they zip tied him. And it took about over an hour to get the zip ties off because the police officer wasn't trained in zip ties, so he didn't know how to take them off. After that, he was out of school for a few days. When he went back on half days. He was doing okay, but his first full day back, he tried to run again. The campus police were called again. He was being restrained. They tried to put him in my van, and he was just running, trying to get away from them, kicking them. At this point, he was afraid of campus police from the first episode. And so the police, the principal told me at that point that because it was a violent episode, he was going to be suspended for 3 days. We took him home. He was out for those 3 days, but then they said he couldn't come back until they had an IEP in place, and we had to have an IEP meeting to do that. So he was actually out longer than the 3 days that he was supposed to be out. He was not violent. He wasn't hitting anybody. He wasn't hitting himself. He was just running to get away from whatever he happened to be running away from that day. Having a 7-year-old zip tied, who is not violent and he's not trying to hurt himself or others, was just a bit ridiculous to me. Their gut instinct became to call campus police every time he ran away. If he got out of the building, they called campus police immediately, and he wasn't being violent, and he wasn't leaving the campus. He was just running to the playground to get away from whatever he was trying to get away from.